The perpendicular paradox of the 40%. Letter grade E is not a joke. In fact, even letter grade S and Q aren't jokes either. Lucario as a Pokemon isn't supposed to only be depicted as anti-fragile. Even when he was in Brawl, he wasn't actually trying to make sure that you knew that your actual Minesweeper gameplay of what doesn't kill makes you stronger. That wasn't the only way to even play Kirby. Or those people who exploit like Fox's ability in Brawl to like just spam his down B, his down special. That got patched in the next game. So going forwards, Lucario would get a little slower. No one would trip anymore, but even Lucario would trip even more than that. And do I like to pretend that that's the point? No. But even in Minesweeper, people see that as an unfair, discussed horror, okay? They're not looking for anime edginess. They don't know what they're doing. But no one does in the first place. No one knows what they are doing. But when you say that out loud, are you being a hypocrite? Is it hypocritical to say that you don't know what you're doing and you actually know what you're doing? You're still humbling yourself, loving the fact that you're humbling yourself even. This anti-fragility is not because you are never going to have an unfair life. It's not that you're never going to have a circumstance or a preference that is due out of your way. And if you avoid looking for my interest using the Google search engine, then maybe you weren't seeing that as the right kind of cheating. Lucario isn't a cheat code. He is actually bearing a lot of truth. When you get to that point of having 150 damage in your counter, your launch counter, and you actually don't get launched in the meantime, you're making his criteria and his roofing count, okay? That's not to say that in Minesweeper you should never learn how to play the game properly. That's not to say that in Asteroids you should never use the thrusters. But a lot of that reigns its own truth. I think that when I read 40% of a book, I know what the mood of it is. I'm not trying to cheat the story. I'm trying to get the grade. But there's something invigorating about both the grade and the story, with or without improper judgment, okay? That's the kind I don't want to be mean about. If I'm not being nice about that, then I don't earn that in the meantime. What I'm trying to say is this. You notice how the United Arab Emirates has the letter E as a grade? Why perpendicularly paradoxical would that be behind the letter F? Because F implies every other letter behind D, which is not ideal to begin with, would not be 60%, 50, or 40. If E had to be 40 and F is already 50, it sounds nonsensical because F should chronologically be 40 and E would be 50. But if E is behind F and 40 and 50, what that tells you is that the letter E has truth to it. Does every person who doesn't survive in Africa die from starvation? No. Are there white people in Africa? Yes. Did Africa survive the end of 2012? Yes, in the movie it did. There's truth to it. You want to tell someone who actually was screwing you over that they don't have a spine without actually improperly judging them. If you have to say the N word of the hard R, make sure what your sacrifice is paying is with or without an improper battle that you would pay for and not make excuses about in the meantime. Don't excuse that.